Welcome, I'm Gary Null. On our program, we're talking with Dr. Ray Evers. Dr. Evers is known as one of the pioneers in preventive medicine in the United States. It's through his sacrifices and through his courage, it's through his convictions that a lot of people today are alive who otherwise would be dead, ravaged by cancer, heart disease, clogged arteries, and stroke. This rather remarkable human being has been persecuted and prosecuted by the Orthodox medical community, mercilessly tracking him no matter where he would go, opening clinics in one town after another, right on his heels, trying through all their bureaucratic might to stop him. He hasn't been stopped. They've taken away his license to practice medicine, but they haven't taken away his courage nor his heart. You're going to meet this remarkable man right now. Welcome to our program, Dr. Evers.
It's indeed a pleasure to be with you again, Gary, to renew old friendship, and I'm grateful for the invitation to be on your program. You know the feeling we have for each other, and for the wonderful work you do, investigative work. You've done a great job throughout America, and everyone who's ever known you is grateful for your reporting that's been absolutely tops in this country.
Dr. Evers, you've been practicing medicine for nearly 70 years. Nearly 50 years, preventive medicine for nearly 35 years. Would you give us some background as to what prompted you to go from your very successful traditional practice into your alternative treatment?
Gary, I started practicing in July of 1940, and for the first 12 years I followed the orthodox method of surgical treatment and drugs. After 12 years, I felt that I was a failure. I was not getting results that were lasting. I was not getting any point of in cancer therapy where they were getting complete control, where they were being made completely free of cancer. So I realized then, and I had started some farming and farm operations, I realized I was feeding my animals better than I was feeding my patients. And so I decided I better learn what I could about nutrition. So in '52, I began studying nutrition and realized that, as I said, the farm animals were getting blackstrap molasses in their feed, getting bran, and getting all the good things to eat, green grass and so forth, while the patients were getting white sugar, refined carbohydrates, and pasteurized milk and so forth. So that was the change of the first big change in my life from traditional medicine to nutrition. And then I realized that surgery was not the answer. I had many patients which I was treating surgically that I now look back and realize that many of them been better off had I never done the surgery that I did perform on them. So I became an advocate of nutrition and of trying to feed people the right foods, because we know that every cell in the body must be fed. So this was the beginning of the big change in my life, and I became interested.
Dr. Evers, when you look back over this career, what were the highlights, such as chelation therapy and the role that it played in your treatment of people with arthritis and cancer and heart disease? Could you give us some of the tapestry of this long and prosperous career?
Well, of course, the first major change was in '52. Then as we developed and learned more and started giving lectures and started trying to educate the public or people who wanted to listen at seminars and meetings which I attended, I first started talking about the evils of white sugar and of refined carbohydrates, for which I was criticized, called a quack, and was harassed somewhat. But I'm thankful to God that a few other doctors joined the ranks, and today we do have sugar-free food available in all food stores today as a result of this fact that we persisted in trying to educate people that sugar could cause many diseases that were rampant in our people of America. About the same time, I realized that cancer, which I was very much interested in, and I heard the work of Dr. Krebs and Latrell, and I applied to FDA and was given a permit to do research work as an individual on Latrell, reporting my cases to Judge Swaggart, the court in San Francisco, California, which we did for several years. We helped Dr. Krebs, both the father and son, in the investigative work clinically, and we know that it did benefit people tremendously by the alternative methods, and as other things developed, I used them as they became available, and I developed some knowledge of other alternative methods. So along the way, when I saw that patients were getting remission from cancer, and when talking with my colleagues and reading what I could, it was evident that we were getting a much better percentage ratio-wise of our ultimate methods for cancer and for all the degenerative diseases. So during the next 12 years, from 52 to 64, was the next highlight in my life, and the change was when I heard of chelation therapy. And I became an advocate of its use after taking it myself and using it to my patients. I realized that we were getting great results by use of chelation therapy.
Could you explain what chelation therapy is and the results that you had over the years?
Yes, I will, Gary. First thing I might say, the word chelation is derived from the Greek word chele, which means to claw. And so we compare this to the fact that a chicken claws a worm out of the soil. In a sense, chelation is actually clawing or removing the minerals from the plaque in the walls of the arteries. And I use a very crude example, Gary, that I hope will be acceptable to you, that I tell my patients that if you take a new galvanized pipe, throw it out in the weeds, leave it for a year, go back, pick it up, it's full of rust. Put that in a can of oil, the rust is dissolved, and you have a clean pipe that can be used again. So chelation is simply a method of cleaning the rust out of your pipelines. The arteries from your heart to your brain or to your lungs or to your kidney, any organs and tissue of your body, is simply a pipeline. It is transporting blood to the cells and to the body where it's needed. So if we compare this to the fact that the car you drive, or the plane you fly in, is trash gets in the gas line from the gas tank of the vehicle to the carburetor, then that vehicle can't go down the highway of the plane through the air. You have to have a clear passage for the fuel. The same is true of the human being. If the arteries get blocked by arteriosclerosis, then it's quite evident that you don't expect the same amount of blood to flow that is normally supposed to pass through the artery to the organs and tissues of the body. So chelation then is a method of cleaning this plaque, that's P-L-A-C-Q-E, plaque, which is composed of cholesterol and fats and lipids and minerals. Now I compare this to my patients. It's like concrete. Concrete is made of cement, sand, water, and gravel. And the gravel is sort of the framework cement, with the minerals of the framework are the plaque in the arteries. So when we remove this metals from this plaque, left is the cholesterol and the lipids. So this dissolves in the bloodstream and is metabolized and is gotten rid of from the body. And the chelation elements that are used, they attach to the minerals just like a magnet picks up a piece of metal. This goes through the bloodstream to the kidneys, and the kidneys are filter plants. Each kidney has about 2 million glomeruli, which is an individual filter plant, as you have the filter plant for the water supply in your city. So the kidneys filter the killing agent, which has been bonded to the minerals, and this goes out through the kidneys. And we prove this because we collect the urine from patients 24 hours a day, 2 days a week, and measure the amount of the chelated substance as the mineral attached to it. We use calcium, the most common mineral we have and the easiest to test for, so we can measure the amount that's being removed. And we do this because we monitor the kidneys, we keep a careful check on the blood system of the body, on the blood chemistry, on the kidney function test, and should we find any discrepancy, anything is going wrong, we know how to correct it. But in my 24 years of chelation therapy, I have never had a death caused from chelation per se. We've had deaths, yes, particularly from the terminal cancer patients, because I, unfortunately, but have a heart that I can't say no to people who are critically ill. So I have had some terminal cancer patients that died, and of course you understand we do not say chelation is a treatment per se for cancer, but it is the safest method of treatment that I know of in my medical knowledge.
Doctor, if someone came to your clinic down in Cottonwood, Alabama, with crippling arthritis, how would you go about making the proper diagnosis and then the treatment? And how would that compare if they went to a traditional rheumatologist?
Well, of course, here as we do in every new patient a complete examination, finding all the things wrong with them, because today in orthodox medicine, as you know, every doctor, in my opinion, is in orthodox medicine in America, treats only symptoms. It's symptomatic medicine. They give you pills for symptoms. So we do not do that. We feel it's our duty to find out the cause of the illness. So we do a complete examination, not just arthritis, but a complete examination, cardiovascular, the x-rays that are necessary for diagnosis. We do all the blood tests, hair tests, respiratory tests, everything is possible to examine the patient. And we have certain laboratory tests that can definitely diagnose arthritis, particularly rheumatoid arthritis. So they get the advantage of all our lab tests and, of course, the physical examinations, X-ray examinations that are done. And we treat then by some of the methods that are not approved. One being that we use bee venom injections underneath the skin subcutaneously. Bee venom is removed from the bee and actually in its natural state. And you know that, you probably know this, but the apiary farmers will tell you that no bee farmer has ever had arthritis. They're stung by bees all the time. So this may seem a little far-fetched to you, but it's definitely true that bee venom injections do help all types of arthritis.
Is that based upon the work of Dr. Lovelace?
Dr. Lovelace, yes, sir. And as you know, work is done in Canada, the professional there, and many reports from Canadian doctors of great benefit from treating bee venom. We, of course, use chelation therapy if they have impaired arthritis. We have physical therapy in which we give the hot mineral baths. We give steam. If the patient has a hot mineral bath, they're wrapped in heavy blankets for 15 to 30 minutes. Then they get a massage, either deep muscle therapy or Swedish massage. Then we have other physical therapy treatments such as the ultrasonic, either with, as we say, dry or underwater. We have the infrared light. We have electrical therapy, which use alpha stem. We use the TIMS pain control. We use, again, the galvanic current. So we have every type of electrical therapy that I know of for treatment of patients. We use magnets, oftentimes applied right over the joints where there's severe pain, because magnetic medicine is very beneficial and is now what's first called quackery when I started doing this. But today it's recognized as because there is a subdivision in internal medicine of magnetic medicine. It's recognized as a subspecialty. So we know this is all helps arthritis. We use occasionally vaccines. We do not use cortisone. I'd use DMSO for my arthritis patients, both intravenously and also in topical application.
Why don't you explain what DMSO is and how it works?
DMSO is a substance that is natural. As you know, my work is tries to deal entirely with natural treatments as far as possible. It is a product that's obtained from the trees. It is absolutely the only, I'll say, drug, which in a sense it's not a drug, it's natural, but it's the only one that has absolutely no side effects. The FDA has never found, or no one found any reaction to DMSO. This is, as I said, intravenously, and what it is, it's a substance that is one of the greatest, in fact, it is the best carrier we have for carrying things intravenously inside the body. The carrier, just like the electrolytes of the potassium and sodium, as you know. So DMSO is a carrier. It penetrates deeply. It definitely will help arthritis. And say intravenously, it is a great benefit. I use it in stroke victims. When I was treating cancer a year ago, I gave DMS intravenously because it's beneficial even to cancer patients. It's approved by the FDA, as you know, for tumors of the bladder, and of course that gives us the right to use it in any other condition we see fit.
What's your experience with hydrogen peroxide?
Hydrogen peroxide is very beneficial. As you know, we have oxygen, which is O2, and then have the ozone, which is O3, peroxide, of course, we get O3. So I say hydrogen peroxide is very beneficial. I use it sparingly in my chelation therapy. The reason I haven't used it extensively is because I've been very successful with my chelation program, and we cannot give our regular chelation program and hydrogen peroxide at the same time. We have to either choose between the two. So I have not gone over to hydrogen peroxide completely. I don't say it isn't probably one of the best chelating systems we have, but it's beneficial. I think it's well worth using. Even hydrogen peroxide orally is very beneficial for chronic diseases, because we have to remember that, as I said, in these disease cells, fungus, cancer cells, they cannot live in pure oxygen. And the more oxygen we get, the better off we are. Of course, we do know ozone, for example, is a great way to get rid of the products in the bloodstream, the free radicals that are so detrimental to the human being. Free radical therapy is so beneficial. And I was first using ozone therapy 3 years ago. I bought the first machine to make ozone in your own clinic or in your own office from Germany. We use it very successfully in helping many patients with all kinds of chronic disease problems. And the FDA decides that there hasn't been enough research work done, so they come along and took my ozone machine, and all of us who were doing ozone therapy, they took our machines from us, took out the element that produced ozone, so we have to sign a statement we're not using until we get permission again from the FDA. But it is very worthwhile. And it's
Are
so
you still using
beneficial.
hyperbaric oxygen therapy?
Yes, Gary, we use hyperbaric oxygen for many patients. I think you'll see that hyperbaric oxygen is accepted today for many diseases, while 6 years ago it was not. But I use it for many chronic disease conditions.
Why don't you explain what hyperbaric oxygenation is?
Yes, sir. Hyperbaric oxygen, I tell my patients jokingly that this does not stand for HBO on TV. It's HBO is for hyperbaric oxygen. And this means that you're getting oxygen in a great amount into your body than you normally do by breathing the air of the room or wherever you're living. And see, the air, the oxygen in the atmospheric conditions is 20% oxygen in the air we breathe. On the hyperbaric oxygen, we get 100% oxygen. Also, the atmospheric pressure is 15 pounds roughly normally that we have applied to our body. In the hyperbaric chamber, we get 30 pounds of pressure. So you can easily see that 1 breath of air in the hyperbaric oxygen is equal to 10 breaths in the regular room in which we live. And this is so necessary to understand because every cell, and there are trillions of cells in your body, and every cell must have oxygen. You cannot build a fire in a vacuum. The body can't live, cells can't live without oxygen. Likewise, the cancer cells can't live without oxygen. So it's beneficial in many ways. But the red blood cells transport the oxygen to the other cells of the body. And so by doing this, we're able to increase. See, we do the blood gas analysis for every patient. This way we get the percentage of oxygen in the bloodstream, which the average patient we get is around 60 to 70%. And this, we like running a 6-cylinder car on 4 cylinders. So we realize that they need oxygen, and so we encourage our patients to take hyperbaric oxygen to improve the oxygen in the bloodstream, and this only lasts for about 8-12 months at the most. Hyperbaric oxygen is not a permanent method of keeping the oxygen elevated in the bloodstream. It has to be repeated.
Dr. Evers, there was a gentleman who won the Nobel Prize, Dr. Otto Warburg. Dr. Warburg found that you could not have a thriving cancer cell in a high oxygenation medium. So are you providing with your hyperbaric oxygen therapy and your hydrogen peroxide and ozone a higher level of oxygenation of the cells in order to kill these cancer cells, viruses, yeast, bacteria, fungus, and molds?
That's quite true. That's really the purpose and the way that it works, and it's why it's given, is to rid the body of cancer cells and of any infection. And it does work because, as you just said, the oxidative process must be active. We have to take our oxidative agents, such as vitamin E and other things by mouth, to support the oxidative system in the body. We all understand chemically we have both oxidation and reduction that takes place in the body, but the oxidative process is one that must run and keep working in perfection for the body to live and to destroy these invading cancer cells, viruses, and so forth that enter the body.
What kind of results have you been able to obtain with arthritis? And if you could be real specific about the type of treatment.
Well, with arthritis, I remember when I started in medicine in 1940, the word was arthritis can't be cured. Well, we have certainly benefited many patients. I've had patients with arthritis who were in wheelchairs, who were on crutches, that couldn't walk. We use, as I said, chiropractic therapy. I have a chiropractor on the staff that works every day with us. He does things for arthritic patients that we can't do medically. We have physical therapy, as I mentioned, with massages and the mineral baths. We have the hydrotherapy, which is as we use in the whirlpools. We have the sauna bath. We have the needle baths. All this is hydrotherapy, and the ultrasonic underwater. As we know, most cases of arthritis respond more to ultrasonic treatment and water than out in the open, but we use it both ways when indicated. And we do know that the alpha stem, the treatments we give are very beneficial, as well as the diet, and as well as detoxification, which we do to get the toxin material out of the body. And if they have any form of toxic minerals, metals in the body, with these removed by chelation. And then also we try with nutrition to get the body in balance. If I might say this, the bottom line, bottom word to me in my treatment is the word balance. To me, that's the most important word in my medical vocabulary is the word balance. So this is what we do, is try to achieve perfect balance, mental, physical, and spiritual balance, along with all the other chemicals, like calcium, phosphorus, electrolytes, sodium, potassium, on down the line, all these must be in balance. So arthritis has successfully been treated, and we have many patients who only come to us one time and the arthritis has disappeared. I may tell you I had one young colored lady, black person from South Carolina, 3 years ago, who had been crippled with arthritis for 10 years, hadn't been able to wash her hands in the lavatory. She came in a wheelchair with the sisters attending her, and she walked out in 1 week, which sounds impossible. Only one of us had to respond that quickly. But we've had many arthritis, as I said, who in wheelchairs, who crutches, who in severe pain. We have one young man right now in the clinic who has arthritis. He's 6 years old, he's rheumatoid, he's deformed, but believe it or not, he is now walking with aid. This has taken 4 weeks, but we feel that he will finally not be normal, but at least be free of pain. He was taking codeine, Percodan every 4 hours when he came to see us, completely off of drugs. No cortisone. Understand, I do not use cortisone. I use none of the inflammatory drugs that's on the market and recommended for arthritis. We do not use any of those drugs.
Dr. Evers, how many patients have you treated over the years?
Do you mean my entire lifetime? Or?
Yeah, your entire lifetime.
Well, Gary, I hate to tell you that figure because I'm sure no one would believe it, but I honestly have examined over 100,000 patients in my 50 years in medicine. That's not counting repeat visits. I have treated over 22,000 patients with chelation since '64. So I have seen many people in my lifetime. You know, I work long hours and continuously, and it's the greatest pleasure in my life is to see people get well. That's what I work for, and I should say primarily what I live for is to help sick people, and that's why I'm such a crusader for freedom of choice, that they may realize that they do have an opportunity and they should exercise this right to select the way the body is treated and do not have to conform to the rules and regulations so-called by the AMA and the FDA.
Of all those 100,000 people, what percentage do you feel have made substantial improvement from degenerative diseases?
Well, I would limit it, Gary, to the degenerative diseases. That's what I work with entirely now. And I say since '64 that we have treated somewhere in the neighborhood of between 40 to 50,000 people. About 22,000 receive chelation therapy. And I can truthfully tell you that we have had at least 95% success ratio with these patients. We are not perfect. We have some failures. We don't please everyone. But basically, we have testimonial letters, and that's the only proof I have. We have no double-blind studies, but a satisfied patient is what counts most. And so we have treated successfully. I would truthfully say 75% of our patients have gotten excellent results. About 15% have gotten, we'd say, moderate results, some satisfactory and beneficial help. And like we have about 5% that have had some help, but not as much as the others, and about 5% failures in my experience.
What role do you emphasize with diet, and do you advocate the vegetarian approach, or do you include meats? Because when I visited your clinic, you were taking me around, showing me your farm, and at that time, though that was some years ago, high-protein diets were still fashionable, and meat was still on your recommended list. How would you have changed that today, if at all?
Well, we have, I consider a special diet for cancer patients, which we have no meat, no animal protein after 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That is fit for the evening meal. We stay away from refined carbohydrates. I advise, as I tell you, in the preparation of food, I tell my patients the 3 B's. That's to boil, broil, and bake. Stay away from all fried foods. Stay away from refined carbohydrates. I think that the white flour and the white sugar are very detrimental to the health of people. I am not strictly vegetarian. We do use some animal protein, sparingly more poultry and fish, very little red meat at all, and practically no pork. Occasionally, maybe we have a source of pork that is not prepared by using nitrites, in which the animals do not get any type of antibiotics in the food. The same is true of the beef that we serve. It's grown for us especially on green grazing and on food that is free of chemicals and no cholesterol, the food of the animals that we use. But our diet is primarily, at least 50% of it is always fresh fruits and vegetables. Is what we advise for any disease.
Would you describe your colonic irrigation therapy?
Yes, we do follow a detoxification program. As you know, every person that we know of in America, I'd say, is exposed to some type of chemical contamination. And we absorb these chemicals into our body. We inhale the smoke in the room where others are smoking. We get fumes from the gasoline from the automobiles. There are all types of exposure to chemicals. So these accumulate in the body and they are not excreted, they accumulate. It's not like drugs that are utilized in the first 12 hours or 24 hours. They stay there for year after year after year. And the only way to get rid of these chemical deposits in the body is by detoxification program. It is maybe nice to think about, but from the day you're born, in your alimentary canal tract, we know that there is definitely a small amount of the fecal material that adheres to the wall of the intestinal tract. Now, over a period of years, this increases in thickness until this has to be removed to really enjoy good health, because about 35% of our diseases originate in the colon.
Thank you very much, Dr. Evers. I appreciate you being on our program.
It's a pleasure here to be with you, and I'm indeed grateful for the opportunity to be on your show. Come to see us in Alabama.
All right. Dr. Ray Evers, a unique and inspiring individual, treating over 100,000 people, using preventive medicine and showing that it works. We'll be back next week sharing more on health and nutrition. I'm Gary Null. Thank you all for watching.